Welcome to Spiritually Raw by Shauna Renee. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Shauna. This is not my typical thing, being in front of the camera. I'm a hypnotherapist and I work with clients behind the scenes. But I've been on a spiritual awakening journey for some time now, actually since 2014. And I'm being called to come forward and share my story to help others on their awakening journey. So I want to take you back to 2023. This is a year that was pivotal to me, which things started to change, take a more interesting turn. In April of 2023, I lost my mother unexpectedly. And then a month later, I lost my grandmother. Both of these women were very important to me in my life. And with their passing and then the feeling of missing them, I found myself Googling and gathering as much information as I could about beyond the afterlife and near-death experiences. And I found myself watching NDEs a lot. And I found so many similarities in the stories that I couldn't help but go, there's something here, there's something about this, there is an afterlife. And it wasn't too long after their passing, a couple months actually to be exact, where all of a sudden I woke up and I had ear ringing in my ears, like a high-pitched sound in both ears. But I had this sense that there was something about that it wasn't a medically induced issue. Just to be safeguarded, I did schedule an ENT appointment and had tests done, and of course there was no tendinitis and there was nothing. It was medically sound. I knew at that point in time there was something about this ear ring that was consistent, that would not go away. It was constantly there. I could hear it all the time. So again, I started Googling, using the internet to research, and I came across a lady called Sophia Persephone Awakening, and she had a video on ear ringing. And I started to watch the ear ringing video and understood more about frequencies. And then I understood from her video that the right ear ringing represented internal energies such as your higher self, higher frequency. And the left ear ringing stood for external, such as friends or loved ones who passed on, or family members. Well, that just intrigued me even more, wanting to find more, because I want to have this connection to my mother. I want to have this connection to my grandmother, to be able to communicate. As I continued to go down that research path, I found myself also drawn to mediumship. And so with the mediumship, I found myself watching the show with, the medium Tyler Henry. And then that quickly switched over to the energy healer of Charlie Goldsmith. And something to do with the frequencies and the energy caught my attention. And so as I started to Google more about energy healing and mediumship, I came across Arthur Findlay College. Now, Arthur Findlay College is a college of spiritualism, psychic studies at Stansted Hall in the UK. And I remember when I came across the article on Google that many years prior, I remember seeing a TV show about the school, and they were talking about trance healing and trance channeling. And it was on one of those paranormal shows that I also was into. So I remember seeing the college, and this intrigued me, and understanding now that they offer mediumship and energy healing classes. I felt called to make a note, as if this was something that I wanted to do one day, is to follow down and get training from the school. Also during this time in 2023, I found myself drawn to tarot card reading and astrology. And watching several tarot card readers that read for my zodiac sign, I couldn't help but notice the synchronicities of the readings, and how as if that reading was portraying my life that I was living right then and there. There was too many synchronicities. And all of this just kept adding up, as if I'm on to something, I'm on the right path, and these synchronicities. Forward on to April of 2024, still having that notation, wanting to learn more about energy and healing and mediumship. I decided to go ahead and enroll in that Master Energy and Mediumship class at Arthur Findlay College. And that was scheduled for August of 2024. But during this time, I was still excited to learn more and continue to research and study, and could I connect to my guides, how to connect to guides. My spirit team, because I think we all have a spirit team. And our spirit team, I feel, is made up of our loved ones. I feel it's made up of guides, ancestors, many different guides are used during our life's path. And so, again, researching, came up with Arthur Findlay College has online classes, and decided, so anxious to do the August class of energy, that I said, what do they have a class before, in July or June? And they had a class called You and Your Spirit Team 2. So I decided to enroll in that class. That was an online class. The month before this class was to take place, so we're talking like July now, 2024, I woke up one morning and the smell of strong coffee brewing. And then I remember my partner waking up at the same time, and we both said, "Do you smell that coffee?" And we looked at each other, but we knew that we were the only ones in the house, and there was no fresh pot of coffee being brewed. And then that's when I realized that I was starting to get my clairs. I didn't realize that the ringing of the ears was clairaudience, and that I was already sensitive to that. Clairaudience is hearing sounds or voices, or even ringing in the ears of things that are not existent, that you can't see. And then now all of a sudden I'm smelling things that aren't there, which is Clairalience, which is the ability to smell senses that are there. So now I'm noticing I have flares, and I'm going into this session of meeting my spirit team knowing that information. And it was during this session, this online session, this class, that I not only realized I had Clairalience and Clairaudience, but I also Clairvoyance, which I have no clue. So here's where the good stuff gets in. So I joined the online class, not realizing it was the second class. There had been another class prior, but it said for beginners, and I thought, great, this would be a good experience for me to get in and do the class. And so we go online and meet the teachers, and there's been a handful, maybe 12 to 15 students in the class. And the teacher gives instructions, sets the intention, and immediately puts us in Zoom rooms with a peer. So I immediately go to the Zoom room with a particular lady that I just met her name by asking her name and not know anything about her. She didn't know anything about me. And I immediately was thinking, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? I've never done this before. I have no clue what I'm doing. So I apologized to her and I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't in the first class, so bear with me. And she just smiled and said, no worries, just relax and go with it. So I remember, as nervous as heck, closing my eyes and taking 3 deep breaths, really big, and letting them out really slowly and relaxing myself. And then as soon as I relaxed myself, this picture came to mind. It was a picture of a black, medium-sized dog with a gray snout. And he was showing his teeth as if it was a protective mode. And that's all I saw. And I got so excited. And I'm like, wow. So I come out and I'm telling her about it. And I said, yeah, I saw this medium-sized black dog, you know, kind of a shepherd mix maybe, with a gray snout, and he's showing his teeth. And I just remember her facial expression, her smiling really big. And then she leaned over to the side of her, pulled a picture, and showed me the picture. And the picture was the exact same dog that I saw, the black dog with the gray snout. And she said, that makes sense. That's my dog that just passed away. And he was always very protective of me. She said, that's nice to know that he's there with me. It was at that moment I said to myself, there's something here. How could I have known, just meeting this lady, how could I have known that she had this dog and be able to see and describe this dog visually in my mind's eye? There was something there. So then we go on, teacher mixes us up again, puts us in with another classmate. And this next classmate again, apologizing, profusely saying, I'm so sorry, I've never done this before, I'm new. Polite as can be, said, no worries. It's good. It's all good. So I said, I'll go first. And again, I close my eyes and take those 3 deep breaths to relax myself and just clear my mind. And then what came forward was a very clear picture of an older man, you know, like in his 70s. He had coveralls on and he's dirty, as if he'd been working, and I could see in the background as if there was like it was a farm. There was a fence, but the big thing that I remember him holding is a hammer, and that's what I could see, this hammer. And I felt through him that this hammer was something very special to him. So again, excited, came out, started explaining to the lady what I had seen. And at the end of me detailing what I had seen about the gentleman and the hammer, she said, yeah, that's my dad. We live on a farm. It's a sheep farm. And he's always carrying a hammer because he's always repairing and mending the fences and everything else. And actually my dad has passed, and that hammer is very special that we had it framed, and it's hanging here in my house with me. She goes, you can't see it. It's on the other side of the other room. And in that moment when she told me that, I just again said to myself, there's something here. How could I have known that? How could I have seen that? There's a connection, and that was her father coming through to me, giving me that picture to give that message to her, knowing that he's with her and he's thinking about her. So we go on to lunch, and we come back from lunch. And again, going to another session. This time I was with the session with 2 other ladies. And we just switched, and one lady read me, and I read her. And again, apologizing as usual, not knowing what I'm doing. I went in, took my 3 deep breaths, and relaxed. And then what I saw coming to my mind's eye was very clearly, it was as if it was a music room. I could see violins and clarinets hanging on the wall. I see a grand piano sitting there very clearly. It was the feeling of a music room or a place that sells those type of instruments. And when I came out and I started to explain that to her, she said, that's very good. She says, you can't see where I'm sitting via the Zoom call, but I'm sitting in our music store in a room, and right next door to me is exactly the room that you described, with the grand piano, with the clarinets and the violins on the walls. And she was very impressed that I was able to do that. I don't think she was as impressed as I was. So again, how could I have done that? So it was during this online class that I realized I have Clairaudience, I have Clairalience, and now I have Clairvoyance. I'm able to see. That was a turning point in my life that, okay, I have some gifts I was not aware of. So a month later now, I fast forward and it's time to go to Arthur Findlay College. So I fly to Arthur Findlay College and I'm staying there for a week to do this Master Energy and Mediumship class. Interested more so in the energy because I've always felt like I have this healing technique, and I find it in my hypnotherapy practice. I enjoy helping people heal, whatever that may be. So there's this wanting, this need to heal. So I was interested in the energy healing side, but the mediumship intrigued me, especially with the online class that I just described and the success I had with the Clairaudience, the Clairvoyance, the Clairalience. But at the school, because there's so many other students there, the connectivity of the energy between all the students in the school is so strong that Clairaudience, Clairvoyance became even stronger during that week of that class from the mediumship perspective. One example was I had a peer in the class and we just had a random, let's do a reading for this person next to you. Again, still learning everybody, understanding who everybody is and not knowing much about this person I was getting ready to read. But I knew I had something because I'd done it online, so I knew there was something within me that I needed to continue to explore. So again, I closed my eyes, took those 3 deep breaths, clear my mind. And this picture that came forward was so vivid. It was as if my mind had a photograph of this image I was seeing, but it was an image of a 2-story house in a neighborhood, like set back in the 1950 type era. I could see the street in front of the house where there was a car parked. Something, again, 1950 era car, don't know my models, that was there. And as if I was standing from the street, there was a couple steps that walked up onto the sidewalk, and then you could walk into the house. And as if I was standing right there at the top of those steps off the street, and I could turn and see the car, and I could turn back and see the house. And as I walk towards the house, I can see the porch, I can see the gray slats on the porch. I can walk into the house, and as I'm walking into the house, right in front of me, I see a staircase up to the 2nd floor, and then to the side of the staircase was a hallway that looked like it went back to the kitchen or a room. Standing at the door looking at the stairs to the right and left, I can see to the left was a fireplace, to the right was another room, it was like a sitting room. And I remember walking in this visual into that room, and as I walked into the room and looked straight back, I could see the kitchen was connected. It was an open room, and I could see a lady back there in the kitchen, and she had brown hair, curly hair. She had a white dress on which looked like as if made of lace. I can see stockings. She had white shoes on, and I particularly remember her necklace. She had a necklace that came down with a yellow emblem at the end. I don't know how to explain it, but it was a yellow jewel emblem. Yellow jewel, best way to say it. And I remember her coming out of the kitchen, walking that hallway near the steps, going up to the steps, and as she went up the steps, even though I'm standing at the front door, I could see her go into the top room to the left of the stairs. And as soon as she walked in, I could feel the feeling this was their master bedroom, though I didn't see it. But I could feel that that was their master bedroom. And then all of a sudden, I could feel the energy of a man back at the car, getting out of the car, walking up the steps as if he's coming into the house. And I could see he's got suit, a brown suit, again of the time era of the 1950s, and he's got a fedora hat and then brown shoes, and he felt this sense of like businessman, finance, and he's coming up to the stairs, and I remember next thing I see is she's at the door greeting him, and then I open my eyes and I come out, and I immediately start telling my partner this, everything in detail, and at the end of explaining what I saw, she said, I know exactly who those people are and where that's at, and she said that was her dad and her stepmother. Her stepmother was a stay-at-home wife, and her dad worked in finance, and that was their house in the subdivision that they lived in. And she said what took her back the most was the necklace, the description of the necklace, and that yellow stone that I described in the necklace. And she said that was a necklace that is a family heirloom that got passed down to her, and she has that in her home. And that is a special stone. It's a sunstone. I apologize, I don't know the actual technical name of it. It was a sunstone, but it was very special in her family. And so again, there is something with this clairvoyance that I'm seeing, and it was even stronger in the school. But it was also during this time at the school that I got introduced to trance healing. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on trance healing. What I'll do is I'll make another video and I'll talk about trance healing, and I'll talk about that experience and what I learned and what I've taken on from that. But for now, I hope this video brings some insight, and if my videos resonate with you, then feel free to subscribe and be notified of my next video. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you love and light on your spiritual journey.